The gunman was 847 yards away when he raised his rifle toward the elementary school playground. Kids were screaming, teachers were panicking, and police were still 8 minutes out. That's when Sarah Mitchell, the quiet school nurse with steady hands, opened her office window and took aim. Welcome to Daily Story. Before we begin this incredible tale of hidden courage and split-second decisions, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button to join our community. Lincoln Elementary School sat on the edge of Millbrook, Pennsylvania, a small town where the biggest excitement usually came from Friday night football games and the annual Corn Festival. The red brick building had served the community for 60 years, and its halls carried the familiar sounds of childhood. Sneakers squeaking on linoleum, locker doors slamming, and the constant hum of young voices learning about the world. In room 127, tucked between the principal's office and the guidance counselor, Sarah Mitchell kept the school's medical supplies organized with military precision. At 47, she had been the school nurse for 12 years, a quiet presence who treated everything from scraped knees to stomach aches with gentle efficiency and genuine care. The children knew her as Nurse Sarah, the soft-spoken woman who always had band-aids with cartoon characters and kept a jar of sugar-free lollipops for brave patients. Teachers appreciated her reliability and the way she never made them feel guilty for sending yet another child with a mysterious tummy ache that seemed to coincide perfectly with math tests. What none of them knew was that Sarah Mitchell's steady hands had once held more than thermometers and stethoscopes. She lived alone in a small house 3 miles from the school, a modest 2-bedroom with a garden she tended meticulously and bookshelves filled with medical journals and mystery novels. Neighbors saw her as the friendly nurse who waved from her front porch and was always willing to volunteer for community health fairs. They noticed that she kept to herself, rarely dated, and seemed to prefer quiet evenings at home. But in her bedroom closet, behind boxes of winter clothes and forgotten Christmas decorations, sat a locked metal case that hadn't been opened in over a decade. Inside, wrapped in soft cloth and maintained with the care of someone who understood precision instruments, lay a custom rifle that had once been her most trusted tool. Staff Sergeant Sarah Mitchell, United States Army, 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. Sniper. 127 confirmed kills across 3 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. She had been one of the first women to complete the Army's sniper school, and for 8 years, she had been one of their most effective long-range marksmen. The transition to civilian life had been harder than any mission she'd ever undertaken. The nightmares came in waves, along with hypervigilance that made grocery stores feel like battlefields, and sudden noises trigger responses that took hours to calm. She tried different jobs. Security work felt too familiar, office jobs felt suffocating. But working with children, helping them heal from small hurts, had given her a sense of purpose that felt clean and uncomplicated. For 12 years, she had successfully buried Staff Sergeant Mitchell and become Nurse Sarah. She jumped at loud noises now, something the kids found endearing and teachers found relatable. She'd trained herself to appear nervous, uncertain, the opposite of the calm professional who had once provided overwatch for special operations teams in hostile territory. The morning of October 15th started like any other. Sarah arrived at 7:15 a.m., 30 minutes before the first bus, and began her daily routine. She checked the medical supplies, updated her patient logs, and prepared for the steady stream of students who would visit her office throughout the day. By 10:30 a.m., she had already treated 2 scraped knees from recess, dispensed allergy medication to 3 students, and convinced a nervous 3rd grader that he was brave enough to return to class after a minor playground disagreement. The school hummed with its normal rhythm, 342 students and 28 staff members going about their daily business. Sarah was restocking her first aid supplies when she heard the first shot. The sound was distant, muffled by the building's brick walls, but unmistakable to someone who had spent years distinguishing between different types of gunfire. Her body reacted before her mind fully processed what was happening. The bottle of antiseptic in her hand stopped mid-pour, her shoulders tensed, and every instinct that she had spent 12 years suppressing suddenly roared back to life. The school's lockdown alarm began wailing seconds later, the piercing tone that every educator in America had learned to dread. Over the intercom, Principal Martinez's voice crackled with barely controlled panic. "This is not a drill. All staff and students, initiate lockdown procedures immediately. Remain calm and stay in your designated safe areas." Sarah moved to her office window and carefully lifted one corner of the blinds. What she saw made her blood run cold. On the hill overlooking the school's playground, approximately 800 yards away, A figure in dark clothing was setting up a rifle on a bipod. From her position, she could see the muzzle flash as he fired sporadically toward the building. Most of his shots were hitting the brick exterior or going wide. But it was only a matter of time before he found his range or decided to move closer. Children were screaming in the hallways. She could hear teachers trying to maintain control, implementing the lockdown procedures they had practiced but never expected to use. Some students were still on the playground when the shooting started, and she watched in horror as they ran in panic circles, too scared to think clearly. Sarah grabbed her phone and dialed 911, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "This is Sarah Mitchell at Lincoln Elementary. We have an active shooter situation. The suspect is positioned on the hill approximately 800 yards northeast of the building, armed with what appears to be a high-powered rifle. We have students and staff in immediate danger." We have units responding. The estimated arrival time is 8 to 10 minutes. Can you provide more details about the shooter's position? 8 to 10 minutes. Sarah knew that was an eternity in a situation like this. She watched through the window as the gunman adjusted his scope and fired again. This shot came closer to the playground, where a group of kindergartners was huddled behind a swing set with their teacher, Mrs. Patterson. For a moment, Sarah Mitchell stood frozen between two worlds. The safe, quiet life she had built as a school nurse, and the lethal efficiency of the soldier she had once been. Every rational part of her mind said to stay hidden, to wait for the professionals, to let the authorities handle the situation. But then she saw 6-year-old Emma Rodriguez, the little girl who came to her office every Tuesday for inhaler treatments, crying behind the swing set as another bullet kicked up dirt just feet away from her. Sarah's hands stopped shaking. Her breathing slowed. 12 years of careful civilian facade dropped away like an old coat she no longer needed. She moved to her office closet and pulled out a chair, using it to reach the highest shelf where she kept a locked box disguised as old medical supplies. Inside was something she had hoped never to touch again: a disassembled Remington 700 rifle, custom modified for long-range precision shooting. Her muscle memory took over as she assembled the weapon with practiced efficiency. The familiar weight of the stock in her hands, the smooth action of the bolt, the precise click of the scope mounting, it all came back as if she had last used it yesterday instead of 12 years ago. She moved to her office window and carefully opened it, staying low to avoid detection. From this position, she had a clear line of sight to the shooter's location. The distance was roughly 847 yards, well within her effective range, though challenging enough to require perfect technique. Sarah settled into a prone position behind her desk, using her medical textbooks to create a stable rest for the rifle. She adjusted the scope for the distance and began her breathing routine, the same meditation-like process that had once made her one of the Army's most reliable marksmen. Through the scope, she could see the shooter now. Male, approximately 25 to 30 years old, wearing a tactical vest and carrying what appeared to be an AR-15 style rifle. He was methodically working his way through a magazine, taking deliberate shots at the school building. His positioning suggested military or law enforcement training. He knew how to use cover and had chosen his location well. But he had made one critical mistake. He hadn't considered the possibility that someone inside the school might be capable of shooting back. Sarah controlled her breathing, feeling her heart rate slow to the steady rhythm she remembered from 100 similar moments in very different places. She calculated wind speed based on the movement of leaves on nearby trees, adjusted for the slight upward angle of the shot, and placed her crosshairs on the center of the target's chest. This was the moment she had hoped never to face again. The moment when taking a life became necessary to save lives. She thought of Emma Rodriguez behind the swing set, of Mrs. Patterson trying to shield her students with her own body, of all the children and teachers depending on someone to stop this threat. The shot was perfect. 847 yards away, the gunman dropped instantly, his rifle clattering harmlessly to the ground. The shooting stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Sarah quickly disassembled her rifle and returned it to its case, her hands moving with the same steady precision that had just saved countless lives. By the time the first police officers arrived 3 minutes later, she was back in her nurse's uniform, tending to students who were experiencing shock and panic attacks from the incident. The official report listed the cause of the shooter's death as unknown sniper, likely law enforcement. The investigating officers searched the surrounding area, but found no evidence of where the shot had come from. The trajectory analysis was inconclusive, and the bullet had fragmented on impact, making ballistic identification impossible. Detective Ray Kowalski, a 20-year veteran who had seen enough crime scenes to develop good instincts about what didn't feel right, found himself puzzled by the precision of the shot. During his interview with school staff, he asked Sarah about her observations during the incident. "I was in my office when it started," she told him, her voice carrying just the right amount of nervous energy. "I called 911 and tried to keep the children calm. I'm just grateful someone was able to stop that man before anyone got hurt." Detective Kowalski nodded, but something in her steady gaze reminded him of soldiers he had known. "You handled yourself pretty well for someone in a crisis." "I guess adrenaline makes you do things you didn't know you could do," Sarah replied. 3 weeks later, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. Colonel James Harrison, U.S. Army, appeared at her door on a Saturday morning wearing civilian clothes, but carrying himself with unmistakable military bearing. "Staff Sergeant Mitchell," he said quietly, "I think we need to talk." Sarah invited him in, knowing that her carefully constructed civilian life was about to become more complicated. "That was some shooting," the colonel said without preamble. 847 yards, single shot, perfect placement. The kind of precision that doesn't happen by accident. Sarah poured coffee for both of them, her hand steady. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, Colonel. I'm a school nurse." "You're a school nurse now," he corrected. "But 12 years ago, you were one of the finest snipers the Army ever trained. Your service record is still classified, but certain people remember what you could do with a rifle." He leaned forward, his expression serious. "We've been tracking some concerning intelligence about potential domestic threats to schools. The incident here wasn't random. This was a test run for something bigger. We think more planned attacks are coming, and we need people with your specific skills to help prevent them." Sarah was quiet for a long moment, staring into her coffee cup. "I left that life behind for a reason, Colonel. I found peace here." "I understand. But sometimes peace has to be protected. We are not asking you to go back to active duty. We are asking you to stay exactly where you are, doing exactly what you're doing. But if another situation arises..." "You want me to be ready," Sarah finished. "We want you to be what you've always been. A protector." 6 months later, Sarah Mitchell continued her work as Lincoln Elementary School nurse. To the children and staff, nothing had changed. She still treated scraped knees with cartoon band-aids, still kept sugar-free lollipops for brave patients, and still jumped slightly at loud noises during school assemblies. But in her locked closet, the metal case was now easier to reach. And twice a month, during her weekend visits to her sister's rural property, she practiced maintaining skills that she hoped never to need again, but was prepared to use if necessary. The children at Lincoln Elementary never knew how close they had come to tragedy that October morning. They never knew that their gentle, nervous school nurse had once been one of the deadliest marksmen in the United States Army. They never knew that the woman who worried about giving them the correct dosage of children's Tylenol had once made life-and-death decisions from impossible distances under unimaginable pressure. But Sarah knew. And on quiet mornings when she arrived early at school and watched children playing safely on the playground, she felt a satisfaction deeper than any medal or commendation had ever provided. She had found her true calling, not as a soldier, but as a guardian. Someone who could heal small hurts with gentle hands and stop great evils with skills that most people would never understand. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the room doesn't look dangerous at all. Sometimes it looks like a middle-aged nurse with graying hair and gentle hands. Someone who measures out cough medicine with the same precision she once used to measure wind speed and bullet drop. Sarah Mitchell had spent 8 years learning to take lives from impossible distances. But she had spent 12 years learning something even more valuable: how to protect life in all its fragile, precious forms. The skills were different, but the mission was the same: to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. Whether that meant a band-aid for a scraped knee or a single, perfect shot that stopped a killer, Sarah was ready for both. So now I ask you, have you ever known someone whose quiet exterior hid extraordinary capabilities? Someone who seemed ordinary until circumstances revealed their true strength? Share their story in the comments below. Tell us about the hidden protectors in your life, the ones who stand ready to serve others without recognition or thanks. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that heroes often hide in plain sight, hit that subscribe button and join the Daily Story community. We are here to honor the quiet guardians, the hidden warriors, the people who protect others without ever asking for credit. Thank you for watching, and remember, The next time you meet someone in a caring profession, a nurse, a teacher, a counselor, look a little deeper. You might be meeting someone who has dedicated their life to healing others, and who possesses the strength to protect them when healing isn't enough.